Well, up in Newborn, up in Newcastle, the Raths are there, and do you know that little, what's his name? Martin Ring.
Yeah.
Yeah, he had cattle and horses and all in the land there, and he got this place cleaned off and put his animals in that. Every one of them died. Every one of them died.
Yeah.
Next door neighbours had the and the land, and the farmer lay in with the field. A lot of farmers saw that time, lay in the and with the field.
And level it out.
Level it out, and he had 6 cows. So like now, there was about 40, 50 cows in the place.
Yeah.
This fella farmer, he was a big farmer too. He had 7 cows, and the 7 cows died 10 years, one after the other. So that gave me a lesson that was wrong to do, yeah.
Rat, yeah. Down the hill, on top of the hill. But you can't, my father said someone went to plough it up one day, and horses died, 2 horses died the next day. Yeah, they went to go plough it up. You can't plough them up or touch them. But you can walk on them, or the animals you can go up and graze the grass off them. But that's all.
So it's a farmer's place, and I used to work on it in Devon, so I went to school. And this evening I come home, and the woman in the house, she had doesn't care ready. And we go for a load of bushes out, she said. And I said, where? Up to the last. You can't go yourself to the end of boy. So, that played some in the other burras. Why, she said, they're not found the rye up here. I said, I knew enough where the rye was. And I went and I got them load of bushes.
Yeah.
But I heard nothing more and nothing happened. Like, you know, never happened.
Yeah.
When we got landed there, a couple of years after, to go to Ross. It was right after, right to go, to travel. And we come home, we couldn't get back to go, we coming home. Me said to my mother, I was in no chap at the same time. And no thought of that. We don't have me going. So I saw it after. They had bush under him.
Yeah.
And he would go.
Go then, yeah.
He go then. I said, that's why I don't. There's a bush under him. And a few days after that, but that's what we done with the load of bush, you know, going to earth and my done. To live on the tooth. But we got to blame many for it, for driving this ass to loss.
There's a rat alongside of us. There's a, like, wasn't it? Years ago now, they wouldn't let into it, the people who under Hills, they wouldn't let in to break a stick, or if you broke a stick, right, they couldn't even pick a bush off the house. And now there's a house in it.
Yeah, because Molly's the sister, my father gave her the rat.
Yeah.
And just cleared off
And
that's all cleared. Although the man that owned the farm, Hillis, so Billy was never right, said they blamed that for it. After, they cleared it off and everything.
Well, there were about Raths now. Raths is a fairy mound or something, that place is called Raths. And if you build a house and do one thing on a line between 2 rats, like it's a right line, you won't have luck, things won't go right with you. So I don't know whether that works out or not. That's the story anyway. But then you're not supposed to touch those rats, you're not supposed to do anything with them. And just leave them at the yard, and if you do, you won't have luck.
And the house in Clean, that is further down. Fairies used to come around and lead. That happened to be 2-story house. And the dills went all in shake.
I knew the house was haunted. And when they go to bed at night, all the delves on the dresser and all would be all smashed. They'd hear that, like, we're going to get up and all the morning, it'll be all right, you know.
to be not touched, like. Push back behind us.
There was a couple of girls working in it, and they used to hear the rattling down, and they'd go down to see who was there, and there'd be nobody there. And they discovered it was where the fairies had been. Yeah. And that's been on by the bridge where the pub is now.
Yeah.
The rat field, you didn't plough it. And you didn't reseed it at all, you know. It went into rough grass and you grazed away on it then. That's a rat field now. There was a rat field near us too. Andrew Kane was the name of the fella.
Owned it in land.
He owned the land. I think it was Andrew. And he had said to Arthur Murphy, Arthur Cool Hull,
Yeah,
well-known figure around here now.
I knew the man well.
Ah, yeah, he's going well still.
Yeah, he is, he gone.
Decent man, yeah. But anyway, the Sean Swan and Ned Swan were doing the digger and bulldozer up there.
Yeah, they were done drainage contract.
Danish contractor, yeah.
Yeah,
And they're just about finishing up and they hadn't touched his rat at all. That's a big one now. Big as that house out there, you know. Good square and high up. And then Arthur came down and Gar lads, he says, what about the rat? What do we do?
he should not know it.
He done nothing with it. Well, Sean Swan said to him, what's up to you, Arthur? It's your field.
Yeah,
Well, says Arthur, I was bent on levelling that out, you know. Awful trouble there trying to plough around it and all that, you know. So big drills are going around it, so he says, take up all day.
yeah,
Lose your time. I think he said we'll level it off with one of those bulldozers here. And that's right, he started off, Ned Swan was on the dozer, you know. And Ned went up with one good scoop, you know, and he let her down, you know, to 4 or 5 feet. And he shifted the whole field, you know. And Arthur stopped him. How long? He says, stay where you are, don't go any further. I've changed my mind now, he says. Well, I'm afraid now, he says, to store the rat.
yeah.
I'd be afraid, he says, something.
Somebody's happened.
Any cow we have could be dead and born, you know.
Yeah,
You know what's going to happen. And so what happened, it still remained there.
oh yeah, not to want to touch him.
Not
The
supposed.
rat, no you're not,
No.
no.
Halsey Rath, that's the locality which the Rath was
Yeah.
the name of it. I presume they told you. So we used to be frightened to death to go in and break a stick or anything on it.
Yeah.
But now there's a house built on it.
What?
There's a house built on
The
it.
sure is.
Molly's daughter.
Well, cutting the rats at home, I was going to tear it up one time, put it into the field. We called it the rat field, and I was going to put it into the field. My father said, oh, don't go touch it. He said, leave it where it is. He said, you might not have no land at all, leave it the way it is. He wouldn't do nothing with it.
We were the same.
No.
People used to think the man that actually owned the field,
Yeah.
he would always think that if anyone did anything in it, he'd lose one of his animals or something like that, you know. And it used to happen sometimes, but maybe it was coincidence, maybe it was it. But I sure as hell wouldn't have touched anything with a barge pole, you know.
No.
I was frightened of it that much.
Well, not a lot of people wouldn't touch a rat, they wouldn't.
And it was very annoying.
And I'm telling you, any lads did touch rats and something happened to everyone.
Well, that's what I feel is always said.
Yeah.
So, but I know one thing, we used to be sent out to get some rotten sticks to start the fire in those days. But there's lovely rotten ones there, but
Yeah.
it was killing because we couldn't touch them.
No. Oh yeah, I was going to knock down the ditch and I wasn't going to let it into the field. Well, they were teachers where it is, don't go touch down the ditch. Don't have nothing at all to do with the rat.
Oh yeah, the man telling me about this rat, you know, and it was 2 or 3 people kind of that did something with it anyhow, cut trees or something, and they died after a while.
You're not supposed to touch
You're
it.
not supposed to touch them. Yeah.
Something will happen if you touch one.
Oh yeah, there's a lad ploughing around one time and the fairies come up on top of the plough. John caught about me. He stopped and he had to stop. What years ago? He ploughed 2 years. You remember that, Money?
What?
John caught the fairies come up on top of the plough years ago.
Oh yeah, old John Cut. Remember old John Cut? Ballyme.
Oh,
Yes,
you.
he did. Oh yeah, that.
It was a rotten bush or a tree or something, and someone brought it up home, didn't they? Who was it?
Yeah. Peter Lambert, my uncle did.
Brought it up to burn it.
Yeah.
And you brought it back to
Well, when you do such things, you'd be afraid, you'd be worried, I guess. So I suppose it's stupid and ridiculous to be thinking about it, but at the same time, when you'd hear it, you'd be just worried, you know, for the sake of a couple of sticks.
No, I just heard that, like, that she took sticks off her rat, yeah. Don't go. That's all.
Don't you remember when I was a small lad at home? We used to be out person every Sunday. And we come to this, we'd always be a person near home. And we come to this ride. And there's all whole borders, like, you know, every place. And we'll in the ferret, and wherever you go around the ride, wherever you move, you hear the rabbits squealing and bowling, boating, like, you know, from ferret, wherever you go. So it turned right to me, it was our ferret. We shouldn't have been in it. But they had tell you there's something wrong to be, it was wrong to be in it, like, you know.
Yeah, I remember there was a rat there in Little Regan, my home place.
Yeah, that's right.
Yes,
Yeah.
but it was called the rat field. But you didn't plough that or do anything with it, it was just sort of left there. Apparently it was the old graveyard of the olden times, I don't know. Yeah.
I remember when we were young, for a couple of conditions.
She was down in
Ratang
area.
And we were living in a house. And then we used to hear this thing.
Music.
Every
Open.
every evening and early in the morning, but never hear it all day. So I had a sister and she'd do anything. She'd go anywhere and we wasn't afraid of anything. So the three of us set off up in the land and announced him, father and mother. And because we got some fright.
The
fairies were there. But we didn't
Fairy
see
lease,
them.
was it? Is a lease to call them?
Yeah.
Fairy lease.
Fairy lease. And the grandest music you could ever hear.
Yeah, their stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's
true now. That's really true.
Yeah, she's not making that now, that's true.
And that field is there.
That was down in Seafield. Seafield, down there, going down to Killie. Yeah.
No, in Gibraltar.
Yeah, well, to be on the road to Killie. So, there you are.
But we never went up near them home because the life was frightened out of us.
Oh, there was no madness up in the big grannies, you know, and he told us, Pat Davis was his name, and he told us, you know, he said I was in the bed one night, and the fairies came in, he said, and they brought me out to the ha-ha wall. You know where that is? At Johnstown. There's a ha-ha wall there now, and it's up like an old piece of a wall, and you say, why didn't they take that down? And there's trees growing around it, like, you know, but it was never touched. Because they're afraid to touch it. You shouldn't touch a fairy leaf. You know, they said it's bad to go near it, like, you know. But it's still there now to this day, and they've knocked down walls, haven't they? Big all stone walls and all, but they never went near the wall. And Nicky had a land down there in Gardamus, and I used to go down on my bike in the afternoon, you know, and I wouldn't be coming home till he'd be finished ploughing or what he'd be doing, you know. And I'd be on the tractor, and I used to be terrified passing by the ha-ha wall. We had to go by that. Oh, Gina. And the fairies. Oh, yeah. You tell us one now, mate. My Aunt Annie, she lived in, she was married in Limerick. Yeah. And she had 3 or 4 children, but this day she was expecting another one, and she went across the fairy rat. You know, and the child was born maybe 3 or 4 weeks after. And she went down to the room to feed it one day, and there was a fairy child in the other end of the bed, and hers was gone. Or, you know, that was really happened. Yeah. And a few months after, she said she could see all the baby clothes belonging to herself out on the bushes. My God. Oh, that's the truth. Yeah. She told us that for a fact. She never went that way again.
Did you ever hear anything about fairies taking a child or baby?
Oh, yeah.
Did you ever
Years
hear
ago,
that?
they used to say they take a child to the trade out of cot. Yeah.
But the people didn't believe in it there. Way back.
Oh yeah, years before my time, that
They
they were.
used to think that the fairies would take children. Because there was people here, and that little girl, and she went a bit weird looking, like, thin and miserable looking. And an old lady said to me, do you think wouldn't Katie, that was the girl's mother, have gone out in the wood and left the child on her own? The fairies got her and left that thing in her place.
Well, my granny went up in the land one day. My mother died when I was only 3. And my granny reared us, and she went up in the fields, down where the new houses are now in Wellingtonbridge. And if she was stayed there for all Ireland, she couldn't get out of it. She got a backload of sticks in a rope, And she passed me where she went in several times, and my father had to go look for her when he came home that night. She couldn't find her way. And that was full of fairies that time. There were fairy mushrooms, rings everywhere. There were fairies down in Bealtaine where I lived, because the grass never grew in one piece down there. And there were more fairy mushrooms and rings. I remember that he said, don't be going down there, the fairies are there.
There's a field not too far from us now, and there's an old man eating the openings, and he told us there was a fairy ring in it. So he said he'd bring us out to see it. So there was a ring. A path right around the ring. I would now say from that door to down here, just that side. He said it was a fairy ring. I don't know more than that.
I'll tell you a story about there was another rat down on where I lived. I don't know there was a rat down there. And you were supposed to, you couldn't, you touch nothing, it was there, a big hole and all. And this, when they all died and these people born, you see, my father said, my father never believed in all this picture oaks, and he said that this man was ploughing it, you see, at night. He ploughed through the rat, he cleaned it all off, and every time he come to the headland, to turn the attack the lights about. See? So my father was there, and my father went down at night, and said, it was down when he was going to talk to him. And he said, every time I went to come down to the end, the lights went out. So I told you that, he said, that's the rat, he said, that's the fairy now, he said. Putting lights on your door, not supposed to plough that rat. See? Well, this man said, well, he said, I'll wait in the morning now anyway, I'll have another go. So he went down and another one. What happened? The wires, every time he turned, the wire was stripped and it was catching the side of it's on the side of the tractor putting the lights out. That's what it was, wasn't it?
There was supposed to be a rat there, and the people that owned the land didn't want anyone to cut sticks on it or cut down anything. One time the calf died, and they thought because somebody cut a stick, that's what happened.
Well, the people that owned it now.
Yeah, were very
Protestant people.
Yeah.
And there was about an acre of it, an acre of ground of that. And it was on the side of Molly's place where she was reared. And the man that lived across the road, he used to have a pony, and he used to graze him in this place. So now this chap, he lived in this cottage, and sure, he was cutting down a hull one day, that to make a hull, and he cut it off the rat ditch. You see, and sure now, see, something happened. And the man that owned the land said, whatever, or if there was anything happened on that, there's something they belonged. And he said, he got the priest to come down to bless it. So, now, when years went on, and then people died and went, this place was left there. And now the Land Commission bought the land and they divided it. And this rat was alongside of us.
and I got it. And I said to your man from the council, or whatever, and I said to him, by the way, I said, this is a rat out here. They looked at the book. No rat. He says, there's a rat. Around a circle. Another one here, another one some other. And he says, this is not marked. So he said, it was never a rat. However, now it come about, I don't know. But it wasn't on the Land Commission map. So, now my daughter, the house been on it now. Yeah.